Good morning to all of you, and I would like to thank Rishihood University for giving me this opportunity to talk to the students and the esteemed speakers who are there. I have a small presentation because I'm a practicing designer, and I think what we have talked about is something which we practice also. So I would like to show you some presentation which talks about how design would be an enabler of technologies. I think that's something which we need to understand because technologies are actually floating around. So many technologies. AI is one of them which is being talked about. But how do we humanize the technologies? I think technology by its own in isolation has actually very little relevance till the time it reaches the people. And it is actually the designer's job or their responsibility to humanize them. And what Sharad and Deepika talked about is something which is related to how do you deal with people's requirements, their needs, the hidden needs, and how technology can actually act as a palette for you. So earlier designers had a palette of probably colors, materials, thought process, forms, and such things. But technology is actually a new entrant, and it's a new palette which you need to use to make things better. Now, what is better is something which is being defined by each one of you. As we're talking about our own identity, we talk about what is good for people, what is good for the environment, what is good for the ecosystem, ecology. So I'll just take you through a small presentation on this. So just to give you a very quick introduction about ourselves, I am a practicing designer for last 30 years, and over the years we have built up a design studio which is actually one of its kind in India, which has design, innovation, prototyping all under one roof, and this excellence center which is in IMT Manesar. And over the years, with so many years of practice, we have designed a variety of things, and we say from a jar to a car, we design everything in this studio because we work with the FMCG companies, we work with the consumer durable companies, and we work with the automotive or mobility companies, all of them together. So this is just an example of some of the products which I told you about, from a jar to a car, and many other things like public spaces, smart cities. We do variety of things, and I think being a designer is such a boon because you can do so much. I think I when I go to the universities and such places, I tell the students that you are very lucky, that you are in such an exciting profession which keeps you young all the time. And like Sharad said, the child in you is always in the forefront. So you want to do things, you have a big appetite to do things. This is just, a glimpse of our studio, which is in Gurgaon, Manesar. And some of the facilities. So we thought that, design, a thought is fantastic. Design thinking is something which everybody is doing these days. And even the finance professionals or IT professionals, they have all gone through the IT design thinking training. But I think very important part is doing, and which I find is missing in design thinking, which means when you think, you need to do and you need to fail. Without failing, you can never achieve success. And this whole system which we have created in our design studio is that you think, do, fail, refine. It's a do loop. So you have to go through a do loop of reaching the final solution in design thinking, and which can happen only through very frequent prototyping and modeling activities. So beyond thinking is doing, which we feel is very, very important. So, in the early times when I finished my course at NID, we were treated as people who can actually give skin to the products. So which means make them look very beautiful. And that is how the industry perceived design as. But design is so much beyond, and we need to create this awareness amongst people who are the stakeholders, who are the customers for design, that design is to do with the emotional connect, which is very, very important. And emotional connect, so people are very, very critical for the human beings. It has to be sensorial, because when you talk about user experience, it has to really activate your senses, beyond your five senses also. Social, it needs to have social relevance or social impact. Cultural is again very important part of it, and I should give you an example that many times when foreign companies, MNCs, have come into India, they have found selling their products extremely difficult in India because they are unable to resonate with the cultural needs of the country. So on, sustainable, universal, functional. So design is much beyond, the creativity has to come in all these aspects. Whereas you see a plethora of technologies which are floating around, right, from AI, data engineering, big data, this stuff, which is there, and all of us keep talking about it. The media talks a lot about it. But what does it mean to the people? What does it mean to the people like you and me? So what we need to do is to do an amalgamation of these things, and this is what the future of design is all about, which means it has to be an enabler of technologies, which means the liberal side, the art side of design, and the tech part, they need to have a marriage, And what you create is design which really is meaningful for people. And this is what we have been actually talking about: meaningful, purposeful design. Technology is not to be shunned away. Many people get, have phobia for technologies, but it has to be used as a friend, which is something that can really enable you to reach your goals in the right manner. We always talk about user centricity, and we think users are human beings, whereas our planet has like millions of other species and we have an ecosystem. So we need to think about a larger picture. It is not only the user who is important, but it's the whole ecosystem of our planet which is very important. So what you design needs to meet the need of the specific user to whom you are targeting, and plus the ecology needs. So both are very important. So please do add ecocentric in your design thinking process. And like all of us said that, from a skill set, which means a designer is considered to draw very well, visualize very well, but it is also laced with a whole lot of deep thought, which is there. So it is becoming a thought process, plus your skill set is very important. Please do remember that designers do need to have a skill set to express their thoughts. Many people have thoughts, but how do you create an expression of your thought? Designers can do it through their skill set. And it has to be a problem solving process. You are not doing things which are purely for vanity, which is beautiful looking and is just activating one visual sense of yours, but it has to activate all the other senses also. So please go beyond and try to solve problems using design thinking and doing as your tool. So deeper thought is very important. And also, like marketing strategy, business strategies, and several other strategies, there's something called design strategy, which is becoming more and more important. And thoughtful designers who understand the ecosystem in a larger way, who understand the stakeholders in a larger way, they will be able to provide strategies, and which are becoming very critical. So, as I was telling you that design thinking, awesome, absolutely beautiful, but doing is beyond, which means you're taking the solution to the people. And the problem solving process is converted into something which is physical, which reaches out to the end user, is by doing only. So, retaining our own identity of being Indian, we have our own unique cultural process. Uh, we created something which is a subset of Desmania, which is called Desmania Innovation Labs, and this is actually a separate entity altogether. And we thought that we need to use user, technology, and ecocentric ways to create products. And sustainability has to be an inherent part of it. We don't need to talk about sustainability. It is something that is hygiene in our thought process. So whatever we do, we need to think about what is the life cycle of the product and what is the end of life of the product and what will happen. So on our way, we saw a little, mountain range, me and Sharad, and we said that, see, this is a new mountain range like Aravali coming up in Delhi, which is nothing but a dump of garbage. And who's creating this garbage is us, and we are cursing, but we are all part of it. So how do we look at it, and how do we create sustainability as hygiene within our thought process is extremely important. I'll show you a few things which are done at Desmania Innovation Labs and which we are planning to put in the market also. So you've all seen coffee machines, Coffee comes from West, largely, also from South India, of course. But the way we drink coffee is very Western kind of phenomena. But tea is something which is so close to our soul and heart. And I'm sure all of you love tea, your own tea, which is your own recipe, and the kind of experience which it gives you. So we thought, let's make a tea machine which cooks tea exactly the way you make your tea at home, and it's technology enabled. So you can actually prepare this chai with your mobile phone, which is with a remote, and it cooks the same recipe which you have fed into your phone, which means you can have millions of recipes which are there. And let me show you a quick video if it runs. This is a machine which is designed by us, and the whole prototype, we should be launching this machine soon. First of our venture, which is. So this machine is absolutely autonomous. We're talking about autonomous cars. So, so you can see it is run by our mobile. You can download the app. You can download your recipe, cook it the way you want. You can actually exchange it. And this guy, and this is real. This is not something. And it makes your own recipe. I'm sure many of you who go to the offices, there you ask for chai and say, भाई वो वाली चाय तो नहीं ना, क्या बोलते हैं उसको, टी बैग वाली चाय तो नहीं ना, because you don't want to drink that tea bag chai. And tea bag, how bad it is for the environment, how terrible it is for the environment, that just single tea bag has like 6 different materials, processes, and there's no way to recycle or, reuse it or upcycle or whichever. It goes in that new Aravali range which is coming up. So you can see it is all happening automatically. And if anybody gets a chance to come to our studio, we'll serve you this tea. And you'll just love it. So we started this whole concept by thinking about tapri. Tapri chai is so popular in a country like India. Everybody wants to go to a tapri and have chai, because it gives you a different flavor altogether. So this is something which we have done, which is related to our identity of being Indian, and we are following certain things which are cultural, which are our own. And always we have tried copying the West in many things. And if you look at the gadgets and appliances which we have, largely they come from the Western design which we have adapted. But this is something completely new. So. And there are many more in the pipeline which I just want to touch upon. Like you have heard of nuclear families which are happening in a big way in India. And when people migrate, you know how many millions of people migrate, and many times they come with their family and small children. So the joint family system, which was part of our culture. So that is something which is actually becoming a very big problem, for the families. So we thought of creating a companion which is a small little tech-enabled, AI-enabled companion which uses ML, machine learning, through variety of things which have happened all over. And it is also your own identity. And this device can be with the women who are about to give birth to a child. And it takes care of many aspects, which is like advising you right, connecting you to a community of the same kind of people. So this is a concept which we took up to a certain extent, and we might like to go about it. But this is again based on our own culture, which means that we were living in joint family systems. We had many people to help us during these times, but it's changing. And how can we plug in this gap, the need gap which is arising? So this is just showing you as to how we developed this whole concept, which is also very cuddly and fun loving. So design part, which means the look and feel, also has to have the right semantics of the emotions. Please remember. So when you're giving birth to a child, you're in a different mind frame altogether, and you don't want to carry a mobile phone with you. You know, you will probably, or a gadget. You know, you need a very cuddly, sweet looking device, which uh, which looks like this, and it shows the growth of the child in the womb. You know, and which is very much possible because it's all scientific. Our body is all science. You know, it's a factory. You know that in those 9 months how the growth happens, and you can actually connect this to AI, you can connect this to the data, and lots of things could be synergized together to create this device, which is not so difficult. You know, but the whole idea is to create a companion for you during this time when you don't have anybody to help you around. So this is just a quick proto which we made, early level proto. So as I was telling you, you can't reach the solution in one go, but what you need to do is to go by doing, iterating again and again, failing, refining. Next. So this is a proto which we made, and along with the packaging. Please go to the next slide. And with an app, of course. So technology is something which you can't do away with. Can we live without apps? I'm sure none of us can. So app is a must. App is a part of hygiene of any product. Next. So another thing, which is very very big, is livelihood in India. It's a problem of our own country. How do we get the livelihood in a country like India? And almost like 60 to 70% of the people are on their own, which is called unorganized sector, or there's some other name which I've just forgotten, which is not a sector which employs people, and they're self-employed people, and very very big population which sells fruits, which sells street food and stuff like that. So we thought about building up a cart, a cart which is a eco-friendly zero waste cart. Zero waste, why? Because it has to be sustainable. And you've seen around these carts, you see a lot of wet area, you see a lot of muck which is around this. The whole idea out here is, can you create their livelihood, more respectable, with dignity, and they are able to earn more money out of it. So that was the idea behind this cart. So so it has no technologies, like you can have solar, you can have composting in it, where all the organic waste goes inside. You can actually grow small plants like pudina, dhania can be grown on this cart, which you use for garnishing and all. So it's a completely circular process which has been we have tried adopting, and we have made many of these prototypes. We've also developed one electric cart rather, which moves at a speed of 8 to 10 kilometers an hour, and which has a platform like this. So we are working all this. What I'm showing you is not what we do as our main livelihood. We do consulting work, and which I showed you in the second slide. But this is something, this R&D or design or all this put in together, we do on the sides, and we are trying to bring it out to people. Next, please. And this is a last mile mobility. I'm sure when somebody comes from the highway, and if they have to get into this campus area, it's so difficult, there's no mode of transport. So last mile, which is e-rickshaw right now, we thought about this concept almost like 12 years back when e-rickshaw did not exist. And this is again a smart last mile. Next, please. So this is something, and very, very basic. So India doesn't need too much of luxury. We are not in a stage, or we are a low middle income country still. So what we need is minimalistic, but with dignity. So that is something which is very important. So what we tried making was minimalistic last mile transportation, no luxury at all, because you are just traveling for the next 15 minutes, and what you need is just the function. But it has to be clean, it has to be hygienic, it has to do the function right. So this was the whole concept, please. And along with, so tech is something which is embedded in each one of them. Sustainability is something which is embedded in each of them. We don't want to talk about it as a patchwork. We don't want to impose, like, technology is imposed or sustainability is imposed, but it is a part of the whole process to design. It is something which is a design criteria itself. So all these ideas are pretty old. We are trying to, sell now. They have become much more relevant. So designers, unfortunately, think are, much ahead of their times. And we thought about this concept 12 years back in 2010, and we developed a certain prototype. Now we are trying to push this to the government and see if something can happen. So and very very narrow, small, because India is a congested place. Cities are very congested. So minimal, absolutely minimal. And I think time is running out, so I'm just showing the last one, which is there was actually more, but so can you please go to the next and play the video on this? Can you go to the next, please? Yeah, play the video. So this is a again a tech, and this is a smart plug. You can convert any device into a smart device from your phone. So again, use of technology in the right meaningful way. So if you want to plug in your heater, it becomes smart. Plug in your fan, it becomes smart. You plug in your mixer grinder, it becomes smart. So that is magical. The technology actually creates magic, but how do you create this magic for people? By and that is what our attempt has been. So in the night when it's too hot, when you want to switch off your or reduce the heat of the heater, you don't want to get up from your bed, do that. You can do it while lying down on your bed. So this is just a small little device, but tech and user. So with this, there was some more stuff, but I'll just end my presentation with this. The whole idea was to tell you about design, thinking, doing, by keeping a much larger purpose in your mind. And this is exactly what Rishihood University is talking about, which means design with purpose. Thank you very much for listening to me. Thanks.